Welcome to part 2 of my journey through the history of Doctor Who, as I watch and review every episode in the show's history. In this part, I'm reviewing the second story for the first Doctor, sometime referred to as 10,000 BC, a 3-part story set in prehistoric Earth. The TARDIS lands in a sandy desert area. The Doctor, Susan, Ian and Barbara are on the floor after a bit of a bumpy landing. After getting up and arguing with Ian for a bit, the Doctor goes outside to prove that they have travelled.
Now, see for yourself.
It's not true. It can't be.
That's not on the screen.
Well, I've no more time to argue with you. I must get some samples.
Barbara and Ian are rightfully shocked, but surprisingly, so too is the Doctor.
There must be some explanation. There's still a police box. Why hasn't it changed? Dear, dear. How very disturbing.
The start of this episode is good. We get the classic confusion from new companions, a curious Doctor, and the start of our beloved blue police box being out of place everywhere. Unfortunately, the rest of this episode is a bit of a dud from here on out. We see in the next scene some cavemen trying to start a fire, and in the most painful caveman speak dialogue, which we are stuck with for the next 3 episodes, we find out that the tribe's firemaker died recently, and his son, Zar, is trying his best to take after him, but failing miserably.
Where is the fire Zar makes?
In his hands. I will not go into the wood.
My father made fire.
They killed him for it.
Meanwhile, the Doctor, while trying to conduct a test on the sand outside, lights a match to light his pipe, and is attacked and kidnapped by another caveman, Cal, and taken back to the tribe, where he has his life threatened unless he can make fire. Having lost his matches, he can't, and is almost killed before the TARDIS crew intervenes, although they end up being imprisoned in the Cave of Skulls. The sole highlight of this story, in my opinion, comes from when they're trapped in the cave.
You're trying to help me.
Fear makes companions of all of us. That's right.
I never once thought you were afraid.
Fear is with all of us and always will be. Just like that other sensation that lives with it.
What's that?
Well, your companion referred to it. Hope. Hope, Miss Wright.
Some of you, if you've watched the modern show, may know this quote. It comes from a fan favourite episode of the 12th Doctor, Listen, where it's implied that Clara was the origin of this quote.
Fear is like a companion. A constant companion, always there. I'm going to leave you something just so you'll always remember. Fear makes companions of us all.
The rest of the episode is nothing special, and a bit of a lowlight of an otherwise amazing season. The team escapes, then get kidnapped again after trying to save a caveman's life,
which in a pretty out-of-character moment, the Doctor did try to kill.
Let you off me.
We get a 1960s-era, rather boring fight scene, although it may have been much more exciting back then, and they escape once more after starting a fire. They get to the TARDIS after what must have been a traumatic first adventure for Barbara and Ian, and land somewhere new, where we get the first of many iconic cliffhangers in the show's history.
Yes.
Now, what does the radiation read, Susan?
It's reading normal, Grandfather.
Unless you are really committed to watching every episode of the show, I'm not going to recommend watching this story. I give it a 4.5 out of 10. The story is far too repetitive for a 3-parter. The dialogue when we're not with the TARDIS team is excruciating, and for some reason they box these episodes with an unearthly child, which is a major disservice to that episode. I think a lot of people may get turned away from this era of the show trying to get through this one. Luckily, our next episode is a real star. Thanks for listening to part 2 of my review series of Doctor Who. Leave a comment to tell me what you thought of 10,000 BC, and let me know what you thought of my review. I'll see you next time when the Doctor faces off his arch enemies for the first time ever in The Daleks.